everyone. Zach Bulls here, co-founder, co-creator of Game and Thriving. I just got off a call with one of my one-on-one rock star clients and just so pleased to see how he is totally getting and understanding how we can all break out of whatever perceived limitations we feel we're facing and start creating more of what we want. It's always going to be easy to fall into what we know, what is familiar, what feels safe. We all have that programming for survival that makes us want to naturally avoid perceived pains. And let's face it, we've all felt judged, we've all felt rejected, we've all felt pain in the past. And if we allow ourselves to believe that history is going to repeat itself, we can really find ourselves falling into these old grooves, these old patterns that eventually just kind of corrode and make it harder and harder and harder to break out of. Hey, Julius, good to see you. Yeah, if any of you are joining me live or watching the replay, please say hi down in the chat. I love engaging with you men as I make these videos. One thing I was sharing with my client today is how I am choosing to break out of my own limitations, my own perceived challenges, and was sharing a little bit of a story with my client and decided, you know what, I think it would be great for me to share this with all of you because we are the master creators of our life, and it's up to us to create the thriving connections and the romance and the joy and the abundance, the wealth, the good health. It's our responsibility. And one thing that I'm noticing that is changing in my world is really creating more of what I want in all areas of my life. Up until recently, I felt like I had it all. A thriving marriage with my wonderful husband Andrew, who I absolutely adore, and the privilege and opportunity to get to work with incredible gay men all over the world to help them rise above their own perceived limitations and fears so that they can create more abundance, more joy, more fulfillment in their life. Because we all deserve to live an authentic, purpose driven life filled with passion and pleasure and deeply satisfying relationships. And it's true that over the last few years, I've noticed that there's been a growing disconnect, but because I've been so preoccupied with my thriving relationship and this amazing career and opportunity to work with amazing guys like each of you to some degree, and also with my private one-on-one clients and men who are doing my group Thriving Gay Man Mastermind program, that it's just felt like everything was really complete. But when my husband Andrew told me that he wanted to take a little bit of space for himself to really work on his connection and his relationship with God a few weeks ago and wanted to really create some space for himself, I found myself really clearly seeing where there was, in fact, a really big void in my life, where I wasn't creating and nurturing that chosen family and community where I get to not only give but receive. And instinctively, when I recognized this, all of my fears and doubts and insecurities popped up, and a lot of self-doubt, me thinking, well, why don't I have people inviting me to game nights and to lunches and dinners and social activities? What's wrong with me? Why don't I have what I want? And I went to a bit of a pity party for a moment and let all of my old buried doubts and insecurities kind of bubble up to the surface. But I quickly realized that the reason I don't have that is because I haven't been taking an active role in creating it. So first, I had to take a look at some of the stories and the beliefs and the limitations that I had about myself, about, maybe people don't like me. Maybe I'm not, a good friend. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And I quickly began questioning those thoughts and those fears and those self-doubts. And I realized that the reason I don't have what I want isn't because there's something wrong with me, but I haven't been stepping out of my comfort zone to create that. I've been falling into a place of complacency and what's familiar. And with that gap that I realized, I decided to do something about it because it's not going to be healthy for anyone to be, your sole source of community and connection. And I realized how that actually wasn't super healthy in my marriage with Andrew. And so I've decided to start saying yes to myself, saying yes to my purest desires, saying yes to co creating with the universe what I most want for myself. And that is to feel that sense of family, that sense of community, that sense of connection. And since that moment, I've been saying yes to things that I maybe normally wouldn't say yes to. I've been putting myself out there and reaching out to people that I've known that I simply haven't been actively engaging with because, as I mentioned before, I have been so preoccupied. Type yes in the comments below if you feel like you can relate. If you feel like you've been falling into a groove, if you've been kind of falling into a pattern where things feel okay, but you're recognizing when you're really honest with yourself, there might be other areas of your life where you're not feeling as fulfilled or as happy as you could be. Type yes in the comments. Hi Lance, I see you can relate. Hi Nathan, good to see you. Yeah, it's really easy for us to, we have this instinctual default programming for survival. And as I mentioned before, we inherently want to avoid pain and experience more pleasure. And it's really easy to allow ourselves to fall into patterns. And then we kind of go with the flow, we go with the groove. And then we kind of wake up one day and realize, wow, this one area of my life, usually something around relationships, whether it's romantic or in my case, more platonic relationships, have been somewhat neglected. And while we might feel like, well, fuck, excuse my language, I don't really know where to start. I'm not quite sure how to fill in that gap. I don't really know what to do, or otherwise I'd have it. We can let ourselves just go back to what we know and let that gap just keep growing and growing and growing. But what I've chosen to do is, as I mentioned before, reach out to more people that I've been wanting to connect with, giving myself permission to not only say hi and have small talk with people that I see at the gym or that I see in some of the places that I frequently visit, but to take things a step further, to really think about who do I want to spend time with? What's the nature of the relationships that I truly desire? And that's where I've decided to not only want something, but to do something about it. And that's what I'm really making this video about today, is to encourage you with holidays coming up and the new year around the corner, just really deciding what is it that I most desire for myself. And rather than coming up with all the excuses of why you can't and why you shouldn't, and instead of focusing on what could go wrong, it's about thinking about what could go right. And so, while taking imperfect action is a big part of what I'm describing today, aligning our energy underneath the surface is imperative. We've got to really make sure that we're working on and addressing our fears and our doubts and our insecurities that are perpetuating these patterns, that are perpetuating the dysfunction and the disconnection and the lack of fulfillment that we might be experiencing. Because odds are, most gay men that I work with have an area of their life where they're not as satisfied or fulfilled as they could be. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But when we can align our energy and do the work to really face our fears, to really look at and question the disempowering beliefs, the disempowering thoughts, and really not bury them, not pretend they're not there, not avoid them by numbing or distracting, but really questioning, is it true that people don't like me? Is it true that I'm not a good friend? Is it true that there's something wrong with me? Well, when I really think about those questions, I know that those things are not true. And when I can face that and clear it, then I'm able to move to a place, and there is a lot more complexities to all of that than just asking ourselves yes or no questions, but that is where the journey begins. So I invite you to ask yourself, what are your beliefs? What are your thoughts? What are your interpretations that might be blocking you from having that thriving romance or that more fulfilling social life? Or more career success or more of your optimal health and fitness. I had a similar experience with that at the gym yesterday. I'm really happy with my physique and my body. I do heavy weightlifting just about every day, but when I'm really honest with myself, I've been avoiding doing cardio or any type of aerobic activity in about 11 months. And while things look the way I'm happy with on the outside, in meeting more people and connecting with more people, a really awesome woman that I met at the gym invited me to do one of her bar classes, which is more of an aerobic experience. And I realized quickly that that was something that I was neglecting and that I was not very good at. And while part of me wanted to just run out of the room as soon as it started because I felt like I couldn't keep up with all the other women in my class, I decided to push with it. And I realized that, wow, I have an opportunity here to really optimize my health and fitness and take things to the next level by doing some of the things that I might not necessarily want to do, but that I know will benefit me. And I know that I'm going to get to enjoy and delight in feeling even more flexible and even more agile and even more happy with the way my clothes fit, etc. But the main point of this was for me to share with you how, since reaching out to more people in my network and being honest and vulnerable, I'm not stepping into an energy of a pity party. I'm not saying, hey, I'm lonely and I'm sad and I don't have friends. Please be my friend. Please reach out to me. But I am saying that, you know what? I'm realizing that I've been so focused on building my career and building this movement of gay man thriving and working with so many incredible gay men all over the world, and also feeling really fulfilled in my intimate relationship with my husband, Andrew, that I've neglected creating more social connections, more fun and loving connections with people of a platonic nature. And I'm telling people this. I'm telling people, you know what? I'm realizing this disconnect and I'm actively choosing to do something about it. And telling people that I really appreciate and value that I'm at a place where I really want to spend more quality time with people like you. And I would love to get together sometime. Would you like that? And I'm doing so without expectations, without attachments, but with an open, candid, vulnerable message. Because how are people supposed to know that I don't have a booming social life filled with game nights and dinner parties and social events? I've become a bit of a recluse, but when I told my one-on-one client this earlier, just before making this video, he was kind of shocked that, because he would have had no way of knowing that about me. Just like the other people in my network, other people that I know from a distance or have even been close to in the past that I've grown a little apart from because I've been so preoccupied, have no way of knowing that I'm wanting to be invited to things. They have no way of knowing that I'm noticing this disconnect in my personal life. And so I'm vulnerably sharing that with other people. And almost every single person that I've reached out to has not only appreciated my vulnerability and my candor, but have said, wow, well, we can't have that. Let's get together sometime. And since then, in saying yes to things that I normally would talk myself out of, like going to a retreat a few weekends ago where I knew nobody there except the person that invited me that I also barely know, I decided to say yes to myself and attend this activity, which was, a good 45-minute drive away where I had no idea what to expect. And normally I would talk myself out of it because I was too tired or had too much to do or, or worrying about what could go wrong. I thought, what could go right? How could this open up something for me? And I'm craving community, and I saw a big message about community on the flyer for the retreat, so I decided to go and had a really beautiful experience. And it was a 3-day event, and my friend that I decided to go with wasn't interested in going back the next day, but I thought, you know what? I was invited to go back by the other participants, and I thought, what do I have to lose? And I opened myself up to going to this experience. And not only did I get everything that I wanted in terms of being vulnerable and seeking growth and possibility, improving my relationship with the divine, with God, something that I'm also wanting to work on more in my life. I met some really incredible people who were really impressed and inspired by my ability to be vulnerable and my ability to be candid and my openness to connect with people that I had never met before. And I'm happy to say that I walked away from that retreat after going and staying the night and just immersing myself in a grand adventure, that I've met some even more incredible people that I didn't know before, that I'm also engaging with and interacting with and having really beautiful experiences with. Going on hikes, having lunch, meeting up to get my nails done, and checking out new experiences that they're thinking to invite me to because I shared my desire for more experiences. And my point is, when we want something, it's our responsibility to create it. Nothing is going to just land in our lap. I was talking with my one-on-one client earlier about how nice it would be if everything we wanted was just delivered on our doorstep in a big pink bow. But that's not quite how the world works, unfortunately. Yes, it is important for us to trust in the abundance of the universe. It's important for us to understand our energy and to align our energy with our desires, to know that we're worthy of having friendships and connections, to know that we are good enough, and to know that we have a lot to offer, but to also allow ourselves to receive. And for us to do so, we co-create with the universe by taking imperfect action, by putting ourselves out there, by pushing through, questioning and not avoiding, but pushing through and overcoming the fears and the doubts and the insecurities that might otherwise get in our way. To not let ourselves fall into the familiar and what we know to be true, but to open ourselves up to more. By deciding whatever it is that you want, that you're not only going to have it, but that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it, without expectations. Because I can't demand that someone wants to hang out with me. I can't demand that someone invites me to go work out with them and walk around the park like I'm going to be doing tomorrow afternoon with a new friend that I met on the beach last weekend. What we get to do is we get to decide, I am worthy of having everything that I desire, and I'm willing to do what it takes. So my question for you is, what is it that you most want for yourself? Where in your life are you not feeling as satisfied and fulfilled as you could be? And what's getting in your way? What are the fears? What are the doubts? What are the insecurities that could be blocking you from reaching your next level of thriving? And when you're clear on what those are, what are you willing to do to face them? And if it feels sticky, if it feels messy, if it feels unclear, I want you to know that at Gay Man Thriving, we offer, I would say, some of the most amazing transformative programs to help you really step out of your self-imposed prison, your self-imposed limiting beliefs, to break through the fears and the glass ceiling that you might not realize, but that you've set for yourself. And not only aligning your energy, but giving you the guidance and support to do exactly what I've been doing over the last few weeks, which is taking imperfect action, which is putting myself out there, letting my guard down, and opening myself up to receiving what it is that I fully want. That's how we co-create with the universe. We align our energy, which is an important part. If we're just taking action with our energy unaligned, then we're often going to be interpreting things and getting negative feedback that might make us go further and further into our comfort zones. But when we align our energy and we take the actions necessary, nothing can get in our way of creating what we want. When I decided that I'm going to create more enrichment and more connections and more joy in my life, I decided that I'm sending messages to people and putting myself out there and going to things that I normally wouldn't go to so that I can meet other people. And when I go say hi to someone and start a conversation, I'm not attached to that turning into something, but I'm also not closed off to it turning into more. And because of that and my willingness to be vulnerable, I'm finding my social calendar exploding in ways that I could have only dreamt of. a few weeks ago. This is the power of energy and co-creating with the universe. Aligning our mindset and our attitude and our perspective, overcoming the fears and the doubts that can get in the way, and then taking the actions necessary and starting somewhere. I didn't quite know how to suddenly have a full roster of friends inviting me to things that I get to hang out with and just be myself with and enjoy laughter and fun and community and adventure and experiences. But I was open to figuring that out. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm sharing with you today is whether we think we can or we can't, we're right. I decided that this is what's happening and this is what I'm creating. And as a result, I couldn't be more pleased with the results that I'm creating for myself. So again, I ask you, type in the chat, type in the comments below, or if you're really wanting some extra guidance or feedback and clarity, send me a private message. I'd love to chat with you about how you can align your energy and really take the necessary actions to create that thriving life where you're feeling wildly satisfied and fulfilled in every area of your life. Our purpose at Gay Men Thriving is to help gay men live the most authentic, purpose-driven lives with passion, pleasure, and deeply satisfying connections. And if that's something that you desire for yourself, I encourage you to reach out to me, to type something in the comments below, to send me a private message, and let's chat. Because this is our life. This is our responsibility. No one is going to provide the things that we most desire for us. It's not quite how it works, and that's been a hard lesson for me to learn, but I'm glad that I've learned it, and I'm glad that I'm stepping up and rising to the occasion so that I can fully walk my talk, but most importantly, fully enjoy my life. And that's my invitation to you. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye for now.